Hello and welcome back to More Alone with You. In the last one, we found Jean's body, talked to him about it, and now we have a few days left on this colony. So now we're going to advance to the acrodomes and talk with Leslie. You've really had to deal with a lot recently. I'm afraid we must continue our work, however, so please come see me. Yes, we have. We've seen the corpses of our dead comrades, and we're going to see more. It's gonna be worse before it gets better. It seems like we keep discovering nothing but bad news, but there is one more area you need to travel to. I've continued to monitor the planet's condition since we shut down the terraforming fields. I think it was the right choice. But I'm starting to pick up terrible readings from within the planet's core. Things are coming to a head now. There's no point waiting around today. Please just plot a course in and shuttle bay and let's do what we need to do. No, you don't need to tell me twice. I think today is day 13, and for the total of this game is 16 days, so we're coming up on the end here. We're about to hit the game's climax in a bit. So, next is the acrodomes. Despite everything we've been through, some things have remained the same. Like this cutscene. In a way, it's kind of comforting, despite all the major changes we've been going through. Time is running out and you need to be prepared for your trip in the escape ship. As it stands, we still don't have the means to guarantee a food supply. This might be our last hope. Find out if the team completed their research to combat the toxins. Alrighty. The researchers sometimes lived in these dormitories during their shifts, since they needed to tend to plant production so closely. Privacy was important, so living quarters were all equipped with passcode locks. They were usually numeric, if that helps. So, as Sam stated, there's going to be a lot of passcodes in this one. That is unusual. Hidden within that flower vase is a small, round recording device. It is a very discreet, omnidirectional microphone. Its onboard memory is limited, but it's enough to capture a day's worth of sound. Let me see if we can cut out the ambient noise and see if there's anything of value here. You might want to listen to these snippets. Is she back yet? No, but she will be. Shift just ended. Any luck? No, this isn't going well, but I won't accept that we're failing. We can't. Damn it, Ashley. What are we going to do? The spread of toxins has damaged much of the recording. Oh, I can't access any more than that. Well, it seems that the plan that Ashley had is is failing. That plant looks like it's there only purely for decoration, but your scan reveals it's been genetically modified in subtle ways. It probably withstood the toxins that have polluted the acrodomes for a time, but its modifications didn't work completely. Alright, well, let's head to the kitchen. Hopefully we can find some clues. That shared pantry has been thoroughly picked through and used up. By the looks of it, even scraps of flammable material were used to make a crude fire. The situation must have been quite extreme indeed if the residents had to attempt such dangerous tactics. Yeah, especially in the future. Oh. That food processor has been heavily damaged by exposure and general disrepair. The colonists wouldn't have been able to use it for some time. Let's see. Anything else over here? It's an old-fashioned physical whiteboard that the colonists used to keep track of chores while they stayed at the dorm. Written all over the minute of chore schedule is a note. Days since working food processor, 24. It appears that the colonists here really struggled with survival once the toxins invaded the food supply. Alright, 24. We have to remember that. Anything else in here? Nope. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of passcodes in here, so a lot of numbers, gonna make sure to keep track of them all. That plant has had its genes altered to test its resilience. It should be dead, considering its exposure to the vines and toxins in that area. Still, we can't use it. It's been corrupted like all the others, just not as much. An interesting discovery. So yeah, this requires a passcode. And that's the East Hall to the toilets. Oh my, it looks like that part of the dormitory sustained substantial damage. It's a good thing you keep your suit on at all times. Yeah, this is kinda gross. The damage has caused overflow from the dormitory's waste systems. It must smell awful in there. Your helmet should help to filter out the worst of it. Yes, I should hope so. The structural damage there is quite severe, although thankfully exposure to the outside environment has been minimal. Alright, toiletries package. That standard issue container of soaps, disinfectants, and creams was provided to all of you. That one spilled open. The containers were all marked with batch and set numbers so they could be tracked. The batch number on this looks to be 12. So those are our two numbers, 24 and 12. Let's go to the East Hall. The vines that damaged so much of the grow domes have invaded here too. The toxin has ruined everything. Yes, it has. Alright, what's in Bradley's quarters? Oh, what are these? That damaged datapad belonged to Matsuko Bradley. Judging by the credentials stored within it, it contains an entry that I can still assess. Things are dire here. We know now that Ashley was the one who convinced Miss Bartois to change direction in our attempt to deal with the toxin. But I think she was wrong. Many of us do. We made some breakthroughs, yes, but Ashley's techniques mean our research is sloppy, and we aren't seeing results. Miss Bartois attempts to lead us, but even I can tell she regrets giving control to Ashley. I just hope it's not too late. So much discord. This room has been totally ruined by the invading toxin and the subsequent vine growths. Yes, you don't need to tell me twice. Anything over here? No secret doors? Nope, that's a password. Alright, so that's Leslie's. Let's see what's we can use that password. Oh, that's right, we haven't been over here yet, haven't we? Though that stock is unusable for food production and synthesis, it appears to have been modified in an attempt to fight the invading toxins. The modification was quite successful though. The plant eventually succumbed to the toxin like all the others. Yikes. Alright, well, how about this? Let's do it. So, 2, 4, 1, 2. Miss Hainsworth's room appears to be heavily compromised. There might still be some of her effects here, though. Interesting. These? This is another set of private notes by Miss Hainsworth. They read, "Though I cracked it twice, time constraints making checks difficult. Team is slowing me down. Bartois looks like she regrets our agreement, but she's wrong. She's always been wrong. Stupid woman. She's locked herself in her quarters for weeks. Rarely comes out. What is she doing in there? She really has passed the torch. We'll be better off for it. Dangerous out, but I can't be here with those mewling geneticists any longer. Returning to Research Dome to finally make this work. They'll see." Working by spite, huh? Spite is one hell of a motivator. More research notes by Miss Hainsworth. They are highly damaged and they must have been problematic, for she's crossed out much of the content and abandoned them. The only parts I can decipher for you to read. This team needs me. We have never been closer to solving this problem. We've always been so effective. Bartwaj bleeding heart management was such a waste all these years. We could have achieved so much more than we did. Even loser Zarowski has put in great work when he hasn't been pinning over Bradley. Just this week he isolated 33 potential strains. Bartwaj couldn't believe it. 33 is double what he was doing under her. That appears to be a physical reproduction of a photo of Chief Researcher Hainsworth's parents. It was taken back on Earth. Her mother and father look somewhat sullen, if I may say so. A written note says, "Keep trying." Ah, yikes. That's really sad. Well, you seem to have figured out the default security code. Why don't you see if that works on any other doors that use it? Alright. Well, if that's like the default security, then what's the point of the security codes? Oh, well, no use in trying to figure that out. I think this door has its own security code. Okay, well, I already know what it is, but we'll go figure it out anyway. Is this the same? Oh, okay, that requires a unique code. For a dormitory, it doesn't seem like a lot of people has lived here. Ah, yes. Mr. Jager's quarters. It's almost completely overtaken by vines and those flowers. These ones seem a little different. Alright. How quaint! Production Supervisor Jager kept an old-fashioned physical book in which to write his personal thoughts. Most of the pages have been ruined by exposure, but a few pages here and there remain legible. A.H. is running herself ragged. I worry for her, but I worry for us all. We're tired, and no closer to a cure. The boss is holed up in her quarters doing who knows what. Things have gotten out of control. Don't know if we'll ever recover. I backed 8H. I believed in her. Now, though, I wonder, should I have? Oh, it's so sad seeing everyone fall apart. These flowers appear to be in a different pigment than the ones that were in the aquaponics dome 2 weeks ago. Have they been affected differently, or were there more experiments going on here? Probably both. That's a fairly new video game system. Mr. Jager must have enjoyed these kinds of distractions. It's long dead, unfortunately. There's a note stuck to the back that reads, "Try to beat my score, buddy." You'll see it at the very top. Dale. Underneath that is hastily written addendum. Question mark plus 66. The numbers look like different handwriting. Interesting. Game systems, huh? They are a nice distraction. I heard the horrible news earlier today. Unfortunately, they discontinued the 3DS. It was a fantastic system. Yes, have to. 3366. Since doubled the score. Oh, even without a scan, I can tell that something is not right in there. Yeah, well, we'll save the elephant in the room for last. This kind of reminds me of some of those bits in Fallout 4 where you see just skeletons of, couples holding hands. It appears, Cerulean, that you have discovered the corpses of geneticist Dale Zarowski and Matsuko Bradley. I'm sorry for this new grisly discovery. The two appear to have been entwined in some fashion at the time of their death. The remains are still holding hands, it would seem. Each one of them seems to have carved something into the floor beneath them. Beside Mr. Zarowski is the number 46. Beneath Miss Bradley is the number 92. Based on your scan, I would surmise that the pair starved to death in that room. And I think this is the only thing we can scan in here. It's so tragic. Well, it seems that we finally have the password to enter Leslie's domain. Yes, let's do this. 4692. Well, that is impressive. It appears Miss Bardois was quite busy in there. Impressive. Is that the right word here? These are musty notes that Miss Bardois kept while conducting her experiments. Here in this room, they span almost 2 years and have faded badly. Here is what little I can still decipher from you. Work continues as Ashley leads the team. Progress is slow. I feel betrayed, but worse, I feel ashamed. That was my team, and I let Ashley persuade me. I know now more than ever, she was wrong, but it's too late. Florent is gone, and Arlo too. The next passage reads, 6 months of work, only glimmers of progress. Ashley has not returned from the research dome. Dale and Matsuko continue with their research. And another, everyone is gone now. It's just me. Don't know how long since I've eaten, but I'm on the right track. My methods are slower, but they're better. That is so clear to me now. I should have trusted myself. The team is gone because of me. Maybe everyone is... I've put everything into this new specimen. The answer seems so obvious now. The flowers. The flowers that grew after the toxins took over. We assumed they were part of the vines, part of the disease. But they weren't. They were their own little parasite, their own reaction, nature finding that balance again. But nature wasn't quick enough to save us. The specimen will take days more to mature. Before I know, I may not make it until then, but at least I know I tried. It appears that Miss Bardois had a change of heart and finally fought back and believed in herself. It's such a grim thought, thinking I might not be there to see it happen. There was a lot of equipment collected there, included many devices scavenged from other parts of the colony, enough to run a complete, albeit small lab. Impressive how she made use of everything in such a confined space. It's remarkable. Your scan indicates that plant is entirely healthy and free of toxin that poison the agrotomes. This is what Miss Bardois must have been working on so diligently. With this plant, we can finally produce a clean, stable food supply for you. It is truly beautiful, especially considering the limited conditions in which Miss Bardois researched and grew this magnificent specimen. It really is incredible. There are dozens of plant specimens on the shelf. Little sheets of paper have been stuck onto each, and what look like test results have been recorded. In lieu of access to a full lab, it seems Miss Bardois resorted to simpler techniques to keep her research going. Scientists are amazing. She is really amazing, whether she says so or not. And it's, as she said, she might not make it to see this guy's progress. It's so sad. I regret to inform you, Cerulean, that your scan confirms those remains belong to the late Leslie Bardois. The state of the remains indicates she was alive long after the rest of her colonists died, likely to be a year or so, in 2063. What a terrible, lonely time that must have been. Obviously, she had been busy up there until her death. She clearly was working on something she felt was very important. With this somewhat grim discovery, you've secured a plant source that will grant you a much better chance of survival. I can begin to process this for her on the escape ship. Good work. When you're ready, come back home. I find it telling how the music always sounds grim every time we're about to discover a body, or maybe that's just me. It's so dramatic. As it should be. Alright, after this, all we have left is Colony B and Pierre. And we'll see what else is in store for us. we can get off this planet. Feels like we've been on here for ages. Alright, finally back. What say you, Sam? I feel awful for having to put you through this, you know. Well, if I'm going to survive, I gotta fight for it. And survival can be very, very ugly. Tale as old as time. With today's revelations and the increasing instability of the planet, I know things are very stressful. I hope you can break the news tactfully tonight. Well, I mean, I can do my best. That's all we can do. Alright, let's head to bed. Do the old song and dance, wake up at midnight. And deliver Leslie the news. It's time, Cerulean. I wish your time tonight was under happier circumstances. I'll see you in the morning. I wonder what it would have been like if Sam was included in these conversations. I feel like it would have been interesting. Probably would have been more enjoyable. Everyone would have had a better time. Maybe? Maybe? I don't know. Alright, Leslie. Oh, hey there, Cerulean. I was just running some new simulations based on the research you brought me before. I've made some splendid progress, and I'm close to narrowing down a new formula for your escape ship. But you look like you want to talk about something else. What's on your mind? I found you. What is it? You don't have to be coy. Oh, I think I get it. That look on your face. You found out what happened to me, didn't you? Right so, lass. I must admit, I am rather unsettled by all this. I don't know what I expected, but to finally hear it, it's just very surreal, if you understand me. You said you found me in my quarters in the Habitat Sentry, and with some of the others, we must have known things were going to end if we retreated there. It all sounds very sad, having to hole up like that, but there's more to it than that, isn't it? Well, of course. Let me show you your notes. These notes. If what I'm saying here is true, I finally did it. I finally turned it around. That means your ship will be okay. In our initial test, those flowers were so problematic. They were almost poisonous to us, and we assumed they were part of the issue. But these notes make so much sense now that the other me has spelled it out. I can help you configure the ship's systems to keep you safe. Now we can set the filters to understand what's actually harmful and what isn't. And since that plant you found is resistant to the vines, you can grow it. I can run simulations here to test efficiency and viability in different mediums, but you'll be able to harvest material for the food processors now. That means your ship can run a good long while with a food supply. I can't guarantee any of it will taste good, but it'll keep you fed until you reach Earth. Oh, Cerulean, this is so wonderful. The work we did at those domes. It won't be for nothing, and you can take the reports home so others will know. I know I should be happiest that you're going to get the help you need, but I must admit, knowing I didn't die for nothing, you have no idea how happy that makes me. What else can you tell me about? Well, you solved it. So I did. It looks like I finally figured out how to combat the invasive vine species that threaten so much of our work. When the vines began invading the domes, we weren't sure if we were dealing with a local specimen, species, or a mutation. Before we knew it, they were everywhere, and our crops started to die, and we couldn't seem to reverse the effects of the new vines. It was maddening. All of the conflict between our crew, all of the doubt, it was all because of this one problem we couldn't solve. What troubles me the most is thinking about what everyone else went through, what they thought of me. I guess I can't change that, but at least now I know it wasn't for nothing. Your plant. I did it. That little plant, it survived, didn't it? It wasn't affected by the native vines that ruined so much of what we had done. It's a miracle that the other me managed to figure it out. So many variables, tests, moving targets, and it all came down to one single plant. We are so fortunate that the AI sent you back there. Who knows how long that plant would have survived if you had waited any longer. But nature is... it's remarkable. Even all the way out here, with all that's going on, you were able to find something that worked. It gives me hope for the future. Even when life is so fragile, there's always a way. I told you before that I didn't think I was a good leader as I should have been. And with our situation, I lost control. I let Ashley change the tone and style of our work. But I was right. It just wasn't possible to see it at the time. Frantically rushing for the results wasn't the answer, but I didn't trust myself enough to stand up for that. I hope the others can forgive her. And me. We did great. I suppose so, in the end, but I wish the other Leslie could have stuck to her guns and been the leader she needed to be, for everyone's sake. Well, I can be that person now. I can do what is necessary and excel at it. No more doubts. I'm going to take this information and get your ship ready. Is there anything else you want to go over, before I continue work? What about your garden? I can explain how this environment works, sure. In this simulated place, I can configure seeds, growing conditions, and other factors, and run lifetime models very quickly. I've been using it, much like the other me was running old-fashioned experiments to try to narrow down viable plants for processing. But with the new information you gave me, I knew what to look for, and what to change so I can focus on maximizing yield and that. Without that knowledge, who knows how long it would have taken me to figure out, if ever, even in here. What else? Well, let's talk about the ship. Sure, I can give you an overview of how I can help with the escape ship. Since the ship has a portable version of the food processor system used in the colony, you can still get nourishment on your journey. And even if you have to be induced into space sleep, having a working processor will keep you nourished until you wake up. But you can't just make food from nothing, and with supplies almost exhausted here, and with the ship's systems not being in shape, you can't survive. Thankfully, knowing how to grow edible proteins and other components again will let us create basic elements for the ship's systems. I can't guarantee that you won't be hungry a lot, but you should be able to process enough to keep you alive for a long time. What else? Well, that couple that I mistaken earlier when reading. Oh no, you say you found them? Together? Oh my. I guess Dale finally had the courage to approach Matsuko. I'm sure with the crumbling situation, they had a lot of time to spend together. Some people might be cynical about it, but I just can't. Maybe Matsuko finally realized that Dale's love was real, and it was a comfort she was willing to accept. It's quite possible the other me didn't even notice it was going on, especially not if she was focused on her last-ditch research. But at the end of all that, at the end of everything, really, isn't finding some kind of love a great thing? Yes. Of course it is. The other me, she had to die alone. That's no comfort, believe me. I don't think anyone truly wants that. And with that, I think it's time I apply this research and get back to work. Hopefully I will soon have what the AI needs to reconfigure the ship. You've done so much for me today, just by coming here and telling me the truth. I want to thank you for that. We'll meet again, I hope, when all this is over and you have to leave. But until then, goodbye, Cerulean. She made it sound like that was our final goodbye. But thankfully we'll be able to see her again. And the end of our journey here, our adventure. Alright, well, last but not least is the mission for Pierre. And then we can finally escape the planet. So thank you so much for sticking with me and for watching, and I will see you later.